Today, everyone wants to talk about graphic design stories rather than actually video game news. This is ChillPoint.
It's so true.
That's my takeaway from the comments section for this video is all you have to do to get there. Like,
oh god,
the number of comments for this checkpoint versus previous check. Like, I feel like the comment engagement is way up, but nobody's actually talking about the content of the video.
It's better than that, Paul.
Everyone's just I want to talk about my particular.
And go hard, go have it.
It's better than that. I've only had to delete 2 comments.
Oh yeah,
That's unusual for CheckPoint.
Most people are there to argue with us because we have bad opinions, or to argue with us because we have good opinions.
But now people are like, yeah, video games, whatever. Okay, this one client I had.
Yeah,
oh, you can't
which is great. Those stories are great.
Yeah.
They're so
definitely
relatable.
And I definitely don't mind the idea of people if you want to have a pissing contest in our comments about who had the worst thing happen to them, just go nuts. Like, at this point, that's fine for this episode.
I mean, I
pissing contest being one of the things that went very wrong in a graphic design situation.
I'm very you get out in the snow and you're just kind of like, well, I'm here now. I guess I better drink that entire thermos of tea. I'm glad that I had all that stuff happen to me though when I was in high school, so I could be like just kind of bumping up against it immediately when I didn't have a lot of life experience and being like, what the hell is this? And actually having like a teacher tell me, this is fine. You're not going to find people who can fix this, so now it's your job to do something about it. And I'm like, do you want to just scan this stuff in? And she's like, I'm going to teach you how to make good-looking stuff. And I'm like, well, that's good.
What point of order?
Yeah.
Can Paul introduce what the show is first before we go off into tangents?
Yeah, you're right.
Welcome to ChillPoint, the show where we talk about CheckPoint. Which is the show that we put out on Thursdays on YouTube. And we talk about things that were mentioned in the checkpoint, which is, of course, in this case, talking about not about graphic design horror stories in particular, or in particular talking about, like, clients supplying files was really like the specific horror kind of thing that was mentioned. But we'll probably also eventually get to talking about the other actually video game news stories and talking about some of the stories that we didn't cover in the episode of ChillPoint.
I mean, there's one specific question I did see about graphic design show up in the comments, and I am curious.
It is our passion.
What is wrong with a 78-degree angle?
So can I answer that now, or do we want to do that later?
I don't know how long. Keep it under 2 minutes?
That was just because you had to recreate the logo, right?
It's so the thing is that recreating. I know why, but it's like, so the logo that I was looking at, I'll just throw them all under the bus, under the tractor trailer. Why not? Because this is a company called Rosno Transport. We were actually, my parents are friends with one of the owners. Is owned by an entire family. And
throw an entire family under the bus.
Rosno has
the trolley problem.
Rosno Transport has a I think a really cool logo, and they paint all their vehicles teal green. This is like back in the like seafoam green, teal green, and I really like teal, so it was like always a thing that I really liked. But the thing is that their logo is it's 2 arrows, and it's one in order to show forward motion. Whoever designed the logo did, I think, a really good job of putting it together. They could have gone a little bit harder, but that's a 40-year-old's experience talking right now. Is that the Rosno Transport is a sans serif, more of a block serif, however you want to refer to that. But it's tilted to you guys. I guess it'd be tilted like this. Still looks pretty good, I think. And then if you're looking at it, they have an L-shaped arrow at like a very at a damn near right angle,
kind of like a clock.
But yeah, and then they have like an underlying arrow as well.
Let's
this is just get some fucking
here.
Advertising. Why not here?
I mean, we're bad mouthing them, so
yeah. So well, I'm not bad mouthing them.
We'll also advertise them.
It's just that it's like it's such an unusual thing to have these two thin arrows, and then to have this bend, and I liked it, but also it's like they sent me that on like a business card. They're like, because that's normally how, might as well explain this too. Yearbooks used to just, when you would do an ad, yearbooks sometimes just basically took a business card and then pasted it on a sheet of paper with a bunch of other business cards, and then they would just run that in an ad section in the back of the yearbook, and that would be a thing that helped pay to get the yearbook published. I didn't do that. The years I was working on it, my yearbook advisor said there must be a better way for us to actually show off ads, because it kind of sucks that we're putting a bunch of people on the back of the thing. What if we gave every yearbook spread its own ad at the very bottom between the page numbers, a very thin strip, and you could put in a logo and a bunch of information. You could put like a little bit here and a little bit there, because that way you can get color into the ads, because you get color from the page of the yearbook. And I don't have time to go grab my yearbook to show this look, but it actually looked really good.
Okay, but what is wrong with a 78-degree angle?
So the thing though is that, so they make this thing, and it's like, I'm trying to line up, because I had to recreate that entire logo, because it does not reproduce well when you get faxed it, or when you get handed a business card, you try to scan it in, and it's like trying to get it to actually reproduce at the right size, and also when you have limited hard drive space, so you can't be doing everything at 600 DPI as a thing. So I'm like, I'll just recreate in Corel Trace, and the way to do that is grab a protractor, measure out those arrows, and then with a bunch of other measurements and stuff, figure out what the stroke weight is, because it's a fairly simple thing to do, but it's such an unusual angle to set things at, because it tried to follow what the angle of the italicses of the word mark is. Oops, but it's like we got to just cancel Beach at this point. But it kind of doesn't quite follow it, and that's what bugged me. Is I'm like, why is it that this arrow is slightly off next to what the italicized?
I see.
Why would you pick and it might have been 78, it might have been 74, whatever it was, but it's just like, it's really weird that whoever designed this for you picked this specific angle when they should have tried to do it to follow the word mark a bit better, or that you should have skewed the words maybe a little bit more.
Okay, to summarize, there's nothing really wrong with the 78-degree angle on its own. It's just, it didn't match up with the angle of another thing, and it was very hard for Beach to reproduce, and it made him annoyed, to the fact that he still remembers it to this day.
Yeah, it's still a thing that I remember having to work this out, and I'm like, I'm going to do this correctly, but why didn't somebody pick 75, or why didn't somebody pick 80? Like, what, it's weird to pick a number like that, or whatever it was, to be off by a certain little bit.
They didn't pick the angle. It was probably
the graphic designer did, right?
Looks about right.
Yeah,
and that's what I mean.
That's what I do. I eyeball things all the time. In fact, we're told to do that in pattern drafting.
Yeah. I wish that they had picked a thicker stroke weight for the line as well, but
now that we're done with that question.
Yeah.
Okay. If you wanted new logo, Rosano Transport, talk to Beige, apparently. He's been thinking about it strongly for about 40 years.
Yeah, 20
years.
I guess. Let's
right,
25?
Yes. I guess you wouldn't have been thinking about it.
Enter into the world going, this logo.
I'm pretty sure they've had that logo for 40 years, and it's like, I'm not interested in them changing it.
That is their current logo.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the stories in the episode, and we'll get back to the story that's the impetus for all this graphic design talk. But for start with, there's a Pokemon cards that are being made available through McDonald's through as special limited edition toys that come with the Happy Meals. And there's four cards from a random pool of 50, and they can be holographic, And apparently, according to some of the stuff I saw in the comments and things, um, Graham was. I think the price list Graham was looking at was the non-holographic price list, because he was like, the thing costs $5 and maybe you get an $8 card out of it.
Yeah.
I think some of the card, like, I think that the, like, Pikachu, like, if you get, like, the holographic Pikachu or whatever, we're talking, like, a couple $100. Like, there is some real money to be made, sort of, in this, if you really want to get into it. But...
And a creative way to get fired from the sounds of it.
But, yeah, I mean, it's like... could you almost want people to just... Like, you don't want people to steal all the kids' toys, but on the other hand, you don't want people like buying a ton of food that they're not planning on eating.
Yeah.
So it's like, can we just buy the toys, or maybe just don't do the? Although,
so you can generally
just go in and
we've done. I worked at a McDonald's. Generally, if you just go in and you're like, I just want to buy the toy, they will let you just buy the toy. I think there's a different
whole Happy Meal.
I think there's a different price point for it. It's like it's cheaper to just buy the Happy Meal in context of like the food that you're getting with the toy.
But you also you haven't worked at a McDonald's in about 20 years.
Well, no, because I would hope that nobody has worked in a McDonald's for the last 20 years.
But I think that like it feels like
I'm pretty sure McDonald's, some people have worked in McDonald's in the last 20 years.
McDonald's toys always like the secondary market value of a McDonald's toy does do this a lot. It depends on what it is that you're getting.
McDonald's toys, there are people who collect them, who go after them, and let's face it, they advertise that type of toy because they want people to come to McDonald's and buy other stuff, and probably buying the food is particularly what they would like. But like, I think when you bought the toy, it was like $2 anyway, and it's like clearly a 10-cent plastic molded toy most of the time.
But sometimes it's like those little Super Mario, like there was a Super Mario Brothers 3 toy line that they had at one time that had like a little Goomba that could like do flips, and you had like a little Mario that you could push down on, and he would like suction cup and spring.
That. Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So that era, those toys are actually worth stuff on eBay because it's a Nintendo crossover, and it's like sometimes it's like when it's like sometimes it's like, oh, they did a crossover with Lego, and the Lego from that era doesn't matter for whatever reason. But some of the toys that they had made were like things that are worth something now. And I think it's I would assume that if they're seeing this kind of like speculation and sale and whatever else, it's like we only have so many of these things to go around. We as McDonald's know how many Happy Meals we intend to sell over the course of a year, like over the course of whatever.
They get however many printed, and then they send them to stores, and they always have that thing written in the ad that's like participating locations.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to get you out of the fact that maybe you ran out.
Yeah.
Supplies last. And
so it just seems to me that it's like, I would assume that in maybe it is a franchise by franchise decision to be like, yes, we will sell you those, or no, we're not selling those separately. You have to buy Happy Meals to go with them.
I mean, the fact that people are buying all these Happy Meals would indicate that that's not that maybe the policy has changed on that because of these collectors things that they don't want.
I think most people just don't know that you can go in and ask if you can just buy the toy.
That might also be true as well.
I mean, I feel like if you go in and ask for 25 Happy Meals, the people
they know the jig is
like,
up, yeah.
We had a separate button.
The toys?
Yeah.
we had a separate button on our till. And that stuff was like the kind of till that we worked on at the time. Like that's probably changed because they're digital now and you can see stuff. It had like you had specific buttons for everything, and
it's like
so maybe they changed that, but like you can't. The only reason that they would maybe have that separate like is because if you go up to the counter, you're like, okay, I want 25 Happy Meals, but really I'm just here for the toys, so just give me 25 toys. I don't care that I'm paying for 25 Happy Meals. Then the person has to put that into the till. That information immediately goes to the back end. So somebody has to rush to the back end and be like, that order that you see coming up for 25 Happy Meals, please don't make any of that.
Right, but and then all like the inventory is out because they're expecting to have made all these Happy Meals and they didn't. So
So I really do think there's probably if Like you either are probably able to, and if you can, they just will. But I mean, it's really kind of beside the point of the story.
I'm just trying to see if there's a way on the Mickey D's app if you can actually.
Oh, that probably not. I would doubt that they would advertise it that way.
It's like, I want 500 packets of salt.
As a colliery to this, though, Pokemon or the I guess whoever does the, I guess whoever Nintendo, whoever is in control of the Pokemon cards, has talked about, because there's been this big boom in like pack openings and stuff, to the extent that cards are actually getting a little bit scarce. In certain, especially like, I mean, obviously, like the first set, is scarce, which is the whole point of the operation. But even like the current sets are actually getting kind of scarce, and so, Nintendo has, or whoever Pokemon company has, committed to doing a big reprint on the current sets and stuff, which is nice. It's, unlike, say, Wizards of the Coast or whatever, it's not like they have the reserve list or anything like that where they have to worry about the concerns about, it's like, ooh, reprinting it, I don't know, or that kind of stuff. They can just be like, more people want it, fine. I feel like Pokemon, I mean, they've got the foils and everything, which is certainly a collector's thing, but they haven't really pushed the collectorness of it in the same way as some other, as like Magic Gathering or whatever. So the idea that that you could just, that they can just like print more of them, they're fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like buying singles of Pokemon cards is a lot less of a thing. Although there have been cases certainly of singles going for a lot of money, but
it's definitely a very interesting tactic to take, to be like, let's just print more cards, because you have that. Because it's like, well, then that'll help drive down the price of whatever.
I mean, that's not what that's not what this product is about, though.
Yeah, exactly.
This product is about getting people to go to McDonald's.
Yeah, no, it's true. And but then the question there too is, it's like, well, normally when you do a run like this, you don't continue to make more of past what you've already made.
Right.
No, but I feel like if you're getting a run on a thing like that, and you're like, oh, this promotion is doing really well, and we intended the promotion to last like a few weeks, and at this rate we're only going to last one, and our next promotion's not going to be set up for like a while, like, you might.
Yeah.
To be clear, the article I was reading was talking specifically about the actual, like, the Pokemon, like, booster packs and stuff, not this promotional thing with McDonald's. But just like the regular Pokemon cards that are just for sale in card stores and stuff. But anyway, that the speculation around Pokemon stuff continues. I know, some of the Lure folks have been there. We did that stream a little while ago, and I think there's going to be some plan on doing some more Pokemon card game related stream stuff. Actually playing the game, not just opening cards.
Yeah. Well, they played. They played the exactly. Online TCG and stuff, and I don't foresee us ever being like, oh, let's just buy a pack of Pokemon cards and open them, because that seems to be the hot thing, especially since a bunch of us like Pokemon.
The idea of us getting a bunch of packs of cards and then just randomly opening them, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oshawott is great. I don't care what the card value of Oshawott is. Oshawott is so great. Do you know how great Oshawott is?
Oshawott so great.
Oshawott is so great.
Wait, that Oshawott doesn't have his clamshell. Oh no, there it is.
That Oshawott is sleeping.
Yeah,
it's very cute.
You know what? Who else is sleeping?
Who else is sleeping?
Snivy is sleeping.
Yeah,
a lot of
Snivy's sleeping.
A lot of people in the comments were like, "What's wrong with Oshawa?"
Yeah,
it's like it's a town in Ontario. People like it. There's nothing.
This is
we have nothing bad to say about Oshawa.
Specifically a New Year's Pokemon set from when we went to Japan.
Do you know how? So we picked this up on the 2nd or the 3rd. These are soft too. They're the very nice minky feeling kind of material. Do you know how much that whole set cost us, Paul? On New Year's, we had to stand in the lineup for a really long time, and people were like, "We'll take 2, we'll take 3." You can only buy them in a 3-piece set, and they were only available that day. Do you know how much the set cost us?
$50.
You're right.
Yeah.
Am I?
Because markup overseas on a thing that you can only get in Japan is ludicrous.
We got in line and we're like, yeah, we'll take it when we have no idea how much it's going to cost us, but I guess we're going to take one. And it's like, that'll be 5,000 yen. And it's like, for, and I'm kind of like, go sit in, and yeah, go sit in. And I'm like,
right. Yeah. Cause they asked us how many we wanted and we were like,
one?
I mean, I only care if I get the Oshawott. And they're like, you get all 3 for the 1 ticket. And like,
and then after buying them,
there were people getting like 5 tickets.
There were. You were allowed to get as I guess as many as you want, which seems a little weird, but I should have got a second set or a third set, but
we'd never get it all on the plane.
But that was the problem. Is like we then took these things in a big plastic, because they're selling a giant ass plastic Pokemon bag, and we had to. I was like, now we need to somehow get them into luggage. How do we do that?
It was on our way home.
And so
it was like the last day we were there.
Just go through security as just a big lumpy. Yep, nothing to see here.
I think we had a flight that night, and it's like, how do we get these on the plane so they don't get all torn up? And so what we did is we went back to Akihabara after we did this. We had to go to the Pokemon Center in Tokyo, which was not anywhere near Akihabara. And we had to go to Akihabara because I'm like, I know that that's a huge shopping district, and we found a place that sold duffel bags, and we bought the cheapest, largest duffel bag they had, which was $15. And then we just stuffed these things inside and zipped it up, and then I think we tied off the handles or something.
Put them in one of those space bag things where you suck all the air out, just like
If we had access to a vacuum cleaner, I probably would have done that. I probably would have been like, suck these things until they're compressed, and then they would all fit. So, but yeah, there's I can make the one I'm holding look big too, right? Oh, this is so normal that I'm doing this.
Yes, I like that the stuffed version is sad looking.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I think we went to McDonald's while we were there too, and I got a plastic Oshawott because they were doing a Pokemon line of toys, just to bring it back.
All right, and then they talk about the wrong cactus in Super Mario World.
I got a lot out of that.
Yeah.
That story could have ended after I
mentioned kind of
the Cactor.
It was kind of a jumping off point to a larger, which, I mean, we've talked about this before, but I feel like that's maybe something that is a hallmark of a Beige story. Is doing something and then it ties into something that's been annoying you for a while. You know, you got to bring out your IGN logoed watermarked Okami box.
Anytime that I can integrate a CheckPoint story into my own personal pain is kind of I think CheckPoint provides us a great experience to kind of get this stuff off our chest.
We were talking about it, right? And I was just like, I saw some people talking about asking how this could happen, and I don't understand why people don't know how this can happen, because it just happens all the time. Remember the IGN logo? And you're just like, I have that!
There's a few people in the comments were like, I had to go and grab my Okami for Wii box, and holy crap, you're totally right.
Yeah.
Very hard to see.
People have said, or there is a rumor that there is like a second run or third run of Okami that don't have that logo built into the cover. I think they also don't have the 9.5 out of 10
because the 9.5 out of 10 is not a sticker like it probably should be.
It was supposed to be.
When you look at it, you're like, this was a mock-up someone made that somebody else said, yeah, it looks good, print it.
Go to print. And then by the time they get all the covers back, they're like, not what I meant, but fine. And so, you go from there. And I bet you that like probably helped whoever it is that designs covers for Capcom or for whoever was doing all that kind of stuff to be like, we'll make sure that we don't F that up in the future. But so the story is that there's a bunch of cactuses at Super Nintendo World, 3D rendered, like, beautiful models of cactuses at Super Nintendo World that look amazing, and they fit the decor. The problem is that Nintendo hasn't put a cactus into a Super Mario Brothers game until Odyssey, as far as I can tell. If anybody finds it any differently,
there's like the
Pokey.
There's Pokey.
Yes. But I didn't want to use Pokey for this because I'm kind of like, that's a little like not whatever. But I had it, and I'm building to an interesting thought I had about game design built around this, because so that the cactus that I showed you from Mario Odyssey is one that there are some in Mario Odyssey that, or at least there's one in Mario Odyssey that if you can snare it with your hat, and then you can march it around.
The hat was on top of that, so chances are good that was a possessed cactus.
But if you ran up to any of those cactuses in Mario Odyssey and you bumped into them, Paul, what do you think happens if you bump into a cactus in a video game?
You get hurt.
You get hurt, right? Why? Because a cactus is pokey. It has needles and stuff, and it hurts when you touch them, right? So all of the cactuses that I saw for New Super Mario Brothers, for the new Mario for the DS, new Mario 2 for the DS, new Mario Wii, new Mario Wii U, I couldn't find any gameplay. New Mario Wii Deluxe that came out for Switch even. I couldn't find a single stage that had a cactus at all until I saw in the background one of those, those round ball-shaped cactuses. They're just like a bunch of fins that with. So those cactuses were there, but I didn't use those in the picture because they're not an interactable looking cactus. It's actually something that's in the background, and they're faded out slightly, and they're kind of like blurred around the edges a little bit. And when looking at that, I realized the cactuses that show up in newer Super Mario Bros. Wii in the fan mod for new SMB Wii. That fan mod has these great, like, very distinct...
They look like they're in the foreground.
They look like they're in the foreground, except that I think you just run past them. And I thought about it, and I'm like, that's actually not very well thought out game design, because if I see a cactus that's very bright and is very present, and it's moving with the rest of the thing towards me, I might, for a second, believe that if I bump into that, if I interact with that cactus in any way, that I'm going to get hurt, that it's going to kill me, because cactuses are pokey. The actual pokey that's in the game,
that thing will hurt you.
Yeah, that thing hurts you if you touch it. Mm-hmm. If you try to jump on it, it'll hurt you. Like, because spikes in a Mario game are very specific about what they do. And I'm like, this fan mod has very present looking cactuses that look like they can hurt you, and I don't know if they do or if they don't. But I'm like, I would assume they would. Yet the round ball-shaped cactuses that are in the background that move at, I think, a different rate than the rest of the level, because they look like they're in the background and because they're kind of faded out a bit, you will subconsciously believe that they're not going to be something you can interact with, and therefore they're not going to hurt you. And I'm like, that's really clever.
That's always the thing, especially as we've gotten into more complex 2D games, or 2.5D even, different thing. The idea of like what's foreground, what's background, what can you interact with, what's a ledge that you can grab, and what's just a funky background thing. And like I feel like Nintendo's always been pretty good about that. In their 2D, like in their Mario games, like making the background fairly obvious, or like what you shouldn't pay attention to. But I was playing Ori and the Will of the Wisp, which is absolutely like gorgeous, like it is beautiful. But there is some of that, like it's so pretty with painterly backgrounds and foregrounds that what is actually like something that you can grab onto or a ledge is not necessarily always clear. And it's a game very much about platforming and stuff. You're like, hop, hop, hop. Oh, that wasn't ground. Ah.
Yeah. You have that kind of trompe l'oeil, right? Where you're like, oh, I
Yeah.
think that's something that looks like it's like, no, that's always was in the background. It's like, well, how am I supposed to tell in a 2D game unless you make things move in a different way or unless you highlight things? I played a game called Feudal Alloy, which is a Metroidvania that takes place in it's all hand drawn, and it's an indie game, and so there's elements of it that are kind of like this could have been done better. And Graham had watched me play a little bit, and he's like, "Oh God, I don't like that." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I don't like how he walks. The ground isn't completely flat. The ground is kind of tilted towards the camera a bit, so that when he walks on it, he walks in the middle of the ground. So there's a little ground behind him and a little ground in front of him, and it's hard to tell where the actual edge of the platform is because it's actually in the middle of the drawing. It's not right here." And I'm like, oh God, now that you mention that, because I got used to it real fast, but now that you mention it, I'm like, oh geez, you're right. That is really hard to see.
That's a thing with games like that. There might be like a hard to tell background thing, but once you get used to the style of that game, you might not actually have that issue in telling the difference
until the level design changes, and then you're like, what actually?
Or you're popping back and forth between games, like because there are games that even within the same series where the button mapping gets changed, and you get really used to like what button is like the attack button. You hit like a different button game, and it's like, oh, what if you attacked using the L and R button all the time? And I'm like, I don't know, Phoenix Immortal, why did you do that to me?
Yeah, I've definitely had that with like. Oh, I was playing Watch Dogs 2, and the run button for Assassin's Creed, which is very, not the same, but it has a lot of feeling of similarity to Watch Dogs. The run button in Assassin's Creed is the draw your gun and shoot somebody button in Watch Dogs.
Great.
So I'm like, I want to run over here. Bang, bang, bang. Cops come after me. I get arrested.
My favorite one is the difference between Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2.
Oh, right.
The jump button in Splatoon 1 opens the map in Splatoon 2.
Yeah.
So if you've been playing Splatoon 1... No. And then you come into here and you go to hit the jump button, which is a button you use a lot, so that you can jump over water or something so you don't die. Instead, the map opens and you immediately dump into the water.
I like the idea that you're like about to jump and then you're like, wait, I better check my map. Okay, I'm fine. Fall off.
It's weird, especially because it's like when games come from the same developer but clearly from different teams, where they make decisions based on, it's like, well, how should the controls work for that? And it's like Breath of the Wild, you got to jump for the first time, but because jumping is the kind of thing that was never really part of a Zelda game, they didn't go with the whole, okay, Y will let you do the stuff with whatever, but isn't X the button that actually makes you jump?
Think so. It's been a while since I've...
because B does something else. I think it's you hold down B to run or something, but I thought it let you do something else. And then A is your interaction button.
Not sure offhand.
But like the X button was what you think you did to jump, and then you pressed it again, you held it down, and then you would pull out your
the glider.
Your glider. B is running. So it's like that whole idea of we had to make some sacrifices in terms of control design, because otherwise there's no good way to like hold down a button and run and then be able to like jump immediately, because if you hold down a button in Mario if you hold down the B button to run in Mario, then you can't shoot things anymore. Yeah. But if you were to hold down the A button to do that, then you would jump first and then you would start running.
Splatoon 1 to Splatoon 2 went from the Wii U to the Switch, and on the Wii U you could see the map on the gamepad. You didn't need to ever open it. Right. Yeah. And but for the Switch, you have to have a button that can open up the map. Except I just don't understand why it had to be the jump button.
But it's always like I almost never like remap keys in game.
I try not to.
Because like even if it's sort of, if I find it annoying, because usually like I'd like to think anyway that it's like the developers know more about know the game, and they know what kinds of movements you will be needing to do, and so just because you don't, you'll need to do some sort of movement that requires that those keys, are separate buttons or whatever. But it is annoying especially when you're switching between different games, and games that have almost, especially games that have like similar interactions. If it's like I was saying with like Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs, where like they're both like third-person games, you're running around in kind of an open world and doing stuff, or if you're playing like a Metroidvania type couple of different games, and it's like one, like the dash is instead the attack or something weird like that. It's just frustrating. But
all the graphic design stuff that we brought up and all the kind of like the third-party contractor working stuff is, as you saw, it's like the Twitter user Ujidao, who's like, they used my fan render, but it's because it's like, well, it was out on the web and somebody looked for it and like, that looks highly professional. That must be what I'm supposed to use. And it's like, why would you do that? And we saw over and over through the whole thing, even when you work for a company, like the dude who worked for Capcom Mobile, it's like, no, we don't know where that stuff is. I'm not going to go looking for it. I don't give a shit about your job. You figure out what you have to do for your job. There's just this kind of continuous attitude of, it's not our problem to figure this out for you.
If you've got any kind of a collection of like anime DVDs or Blu-rays or whatever, go ahead and look at the artwork and see if you can find any that have pixelized edges on them, because chances are good that was part of a mock-up that they made and they never got sent any HD graphics.
It's like, I need a better version of this so I can put this in the thing. It's like, no, print it. And it's like,
it looks fine. And
and that it hurts, because it's like you are ostensibly working for this company and you want them to, you want to be able to put their best foot forward, right? It's like, I'm working for you, and if you want this to look the best it's going to look, don't let me go to Google to try to find the best version of this and then put something together. If we have a contract, if we're working together, please support me by providing me with the stuff that you think that we should use so that we can make things look good for you. Yeah. And I don't know why that doesn't always get across.
It's even between like PR firms that work for Nintendo. Like, I know, I'm certain I heard a story about like the reason why our Professor Layton games look the way they do versus anyone else is because they didn't send them any graphics, so that they had to make up something. And so they went for like, here's some weird screenshots of the game, and it's a puzzle thing, so here's a puzzle sticker. Like, but like, if you look at the UK ones, they've like this cool graphic for the Layton symbol and
levels of subcontractors and abstraction, and it's just like at a certain all right, one more graphic design thing.
Go ahead.
So I used to work at a company that designs museum exhibits, and so we're doing, you're printing an image on a panel that's like 3 feet by 5 feet, so it's huge on the wall, right? And so we're going through and we're going through all the pictures, the photos that they have for what would be good for this thing. We're like, this is a great photo. It really represents what we want to talk about in this thing. We'll put it in the back. We'll put it there, and we'll put text on it. It'll be great. And so we're like, okay, so we need a high resolution version of this photo that we had from them. So first thing we get is like just a printout. Like, they send us a piece of paper with the photo on it, like printed. And we're like, okay, no, we need a scan of this photo, not we need the original version that you printed, not we need a scan of it.
Oh no!
I know what's coming.
Not a thing. So we get a scan of that printout.
Yeah.
Yep. Of course.
Coming in, so you can see the little like dots of the printer thing and stuff. And it's and not only that, but it's obvious that the photo that they had wasn't very high resolution. Like, it was like a 72 DPI JPEG or something. And we're like, okay, this is like a historical photo that is from your archives on a slide. You need to get that slide and get it drum scanned, which I don't even know if drum scanning is like still a thing. But drum scanning used to be it's a special way, especially for transparencies, that you put it on a special. It's a special type of scanner that allows you to, because of course with transparencies or with slides,
transmission will
you're scanning an extreme, like very 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 high resolution, but on a very small area. So we need a drum scan. It's going to be expensive because drum scanning takes time, and it's quite a device is quite expensive, but it'll be good. And they're like, we really have to do this? They're like, yes. Like if we print this on the wall at 2 feet by 5 feet, it'll look
awful.
It's gonna look terrible. And they're like, okay, we'll get it. And it costs like $100 to get it scanned. And we're like, okay, great. They get a drum scan, super high resolution, comes back, and it's a friggin' drum scan of that printout, that same original printout.
So not now the actual slide.
So now we have like 200, like a 20,000 DPI print scan of that printout.
I thought you might have actually got through to them with that. Like, I was like, go get that slide.
No, there was a pause there that said this story does not end well.
And it's just like, and it's like it probably what was happening was it was just like the person we were talking to understood and was explaining it to somebody who was explaining it to somebody, and somewhere along the way, someone is like, or then somebody's like, that sounds weird, but I guess I'll do it. I questioned the people, because the people running the drum scan thing should have said something. That's what I questioned. The people running the drum scan thing should have been like, this is a terrible idea. Don't do this.
Except that that there's somebody who works at the drum scanning company who was like, okay, like I have a very specialized, specific job that I'm doing, and that if somebody came to me to say to do this, and I cannot be bothered to fix their mistake, and it's like funny that there's a chain of people that work in companies sometimes that are like, I'm not bothered to fix your mistake. I'm not bothered to fix your mistake. I'm not bothered to fix your mistake.
Chances are good. There's a person who's worked there who constantly gets stuff like this, and maybe at one point they were like, are you sure that's what you want? And people just say yes, because it's not like they explain what they're really supposed to do. They're just like, I was told to get this drum scan. And they're like, okay, well,
when they were young,
that's what you want.
Yeah, when they were young and innocent, but they've had that enthusiasm beaten out of them over years.
And as people in chat say, it's that you get yelled at for questioning it in the first place. You're just like, are you sure this is what you want? It's like, we're under a deadline here. What are you doing asking? Just do it. And it's like,
yeah.
Anyway,
do it or you're fired.
There's no reason for that person to actually ask.
Yeah.
All right. Story about Cyberpunk 2077. But they got hacked apparently. Which, and the point here, I believe Kathleen wrote this story, is there is a point here where it's like yeah. It's funny because it's CD Projekt Red, but to be honest, this isn't actually that unusual. Video game companies get hacked all the time.
Yep.
Although I don't know. I don't actually know if they get hacked like as a higher percentage than just other regular companies. Or just
we get a lot of leaks from that.
We hear about it more.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, it's just. Yeah, you get the point where you just start feeling kind of bad for them, It's for the CD Projekt. It's like, really, after all the crap you've dealt that. So, but apparently, this auction went forward for whatever $1 million.
So it wasn't just Cyberpunk code either, like because that's the thing. Like we just covered that part in the story because that's really the funny part of the story, but I think it's like Witcher 3 and like some other game code, but probably also personal data and stuff, which is the real problem with these a lot of the hacking is it's not just they oh, a video game company got hacked, and now we know the games that they were planning to talk about that they maybe won't talk about for 3 months because it wasn't ready yet. It's like, no, a bunch of personal data got taken as well, and now a whole bunch of people don't know if something bad is going to happen to them.
I mean, from what I understand, because of course CD Projekt Red also owns GOG, the game selling company, which obviously has credit cards and all that stuff. From what I understand, this did not it did not mess with that, so that's good anyway.
Yeah.
I'm talking like employee information.
Oh yeah,
because like I think when the Giga Leak thing happened to Nintendo, there's like a bunch of information in that has personal information that because, and I only know that because every time anyone reported on it, they were like, we learned all this cool stuff. There was this other part that's really problematic, so maybe we shouldn't look at it, but we did learn a really lot of cool stuff, so we don't know how we feel conflicted, and like, yeah, it's just bad.
So you mentioned the Giga Leak. I like that one of the big things that we've learned from the Giga Leak is that Nintendo is actually like really good at archiving their old stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's been a bunch of stories recently about like stuff that's been lost over time, but we found out so much stuff from the Giga Leak where it's like, wow, Nintendo is actually pretty organized about keeping track of their old stuff.
Which is funny too, because it's like they're judging from the last story, they're very good at holding on to all their stuff from like in middle of development and everything else. They just don't give it out to people when they need it. No. They've hired.
They're holding on to it. It's not for looking at. It's for keeping.
Yeah, exactly. They got this like smog on their dragon horde, and it's just like. But back to the CD Projekt Red thing, one thing I read that I thought was super interesting too, though, because when you really think about it, it's like, what do you do with this ultimately? Because you don't like what. Let's say Ubisoft went and bought all this stuff, like these, like I'm just picking out of the air, but let's say Ubisoft's like, we'll buy it and we'll buy all that on the black market and we'll go ahead and then we'll make our own Cyberpunk. That's a professional company that makes video games, right?
Well, yes, I am aware of who Ubisoft is.
Let's start from that. Let's start from that area. A professional company that makes video games goes ahead and buys all this data on the black market. And we're gonna go ahead and make our own version of Cyberpunk, and we're gonna publish it, and not gonna get sued because this is just a thought experiment. So hang the fuck on.
Okay.
So they have to then implement the entire development chain, not just be like, take this source code and dump it into a compiler and go. They have to implement the entire development chain that CD Projekt Red uses, which will not be the same as what Ubisoft uses to make stuff in the first place. This isn't a push-button get Cyberpunk thing. This is, we have to set up everything they do. We have to get all the libraries in place. We have to make sure that everything's kind of put together. It's like, it would take months to work on a thing like that and then actually like put it together into a release format. There's no value in somebody getting all this for that kind of reason, to be like, we're going to make our own like black market Cyberpunk and distribute it to people and let them play it. You can just pirate the game and do that. This is for another purpose. This is for people looking to tear things apart, to make cheats, to learn how stuff within the games work. People are like, oh, be all sorts of cool modding stuff. I'm like, nobody paid $1 million or more so they could just make some cool modding shit. The reason to do this is to develop cheat software, is to develop other things that you can sell for money so you can make your money back. And it's weird because it's like, what is that actually going to look like? What's that going to look like for like Witcher 3 or for like Gwent and for like all the other source code that came with this? It's kind of like,
I mean, yeah, because I was going to say, would I can't imagine another video game company would go to the black market and purchase the source code from a ransomware thing at all, just because that just seems like, as evil as some people who work at video games are, especially in upper management, I don't know that they'd want to get caught doing that.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be pretty it would be pretty obvious if you also if you're looking to steal the code behind a game, maybe don't take a game that is known for being horribly buggy and having problems. Um,
Yeah, see, you can tell the siren of disagreement is happening.
Yeah.
The siren that's like, no, this is weird. Don't.
there's a follow up on this actually on Ars Technica where they were talking about they're talking about how there's independent verification that this auction took place.
Okay.
There isn't actually independent verification that somebody bought this thing for $1 million. It's possible that this is like the hacking, the hackers sort of trying to save face on stuff or something. Who knows?
Yeah, well, because the idea would be to hold it for ransom, get paid so that they can get their source code back, so that they can continue to try and sort out their mess, right?
Yeah.
But if CDPR didn't, if CDPR kind of called their bluff on the ransom thing, and they were just like, whatever, try to auction.
Sure be a shame if we couldn't fix our game.
Yeah, and it's not as if it would be different if it was like they took everything, they have their own copy of it, and then they deleted it all off the servers and there were no backups. Or they hung ransomware and completely encrypted it, and it's like, you'll never be able to get this back. That kind of thing. But in this case, it just sounds like they made a copy of everything and then ran away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, great. Go fucking nuts, I guess. We'll see what you stole. Oh, you didn't steal anything.
Seem to end with, we're not negotiating with that, and then leaks happen.
Yeah.
Like, that always seems to be the case. I doubt we're ever going to hear the story of the person who's like, I hacked into the system and I made $1 million because Capcom folded.
There's got to be something in here we can use to hang these guys. It's like,
gave it to me.
I mean, it is worthwhile to note that in the past, these kind of hacks have resulted in real jail time and stuff. Like, this is actually like criminal offense. Like, people get arrested for it and go to jail. So it's not just like you get sued. It is it is a real. It's not just a civil thing. So anyway, yeah, it's mostly just CD or Cyberpunk 2077 continues to becoming some sort of ARG system, I guess.
Yeah, special game of its time, but not of its time.
Yeah, but I hope you weren't looking to play Terraria on Stadia.
Or Stadia.
Stadia. Because apparently that's not going to happen, and not for want of trying. But it turns out it's kind of difficult to develop for a system when you can no longer log into any of your accounts associated with that. And because Google really, really sucks at customer service.
Yeah.
Like, it's the thing where it's like where, in the tweet where he's saying like, I've done nothing to violate terms of service. I can take it no other way. You're deciding to burn this bridge. Consider it burned. Terraria for Google Stadia is canceled. And it's just like, I think he knows, and we all sort of know that it's not that Google has been like, we can't fix that, or we're not fixing that for you. It's that apparently Google cares so little that they haven't bothered to investigate it.
Yeah. and I will extrapolate here, or rather, no, even better, let's just call it a speculation. I will speculate that Andrew Spinks of Relogic, who made Terraria, probably even said to them at some point, I'm developing a game right now for Google Stadia. Like, I'm literally porting my game to Google Stadia. I need to continue to do my job to develop a thing for Google, and your inability to unlock my account means that we can't get a lot of work done that we're trying to do for one of your other companies. Like, I have a relationship with this company. I'm developing a thing for them. We're trying to get this all sorted out. You refuse to unban our stuff, and nobody seems to have the tools they need to say, oh, your account's unbanned, right? And I'm like, and I'm sure it wasn't even a threat. I'm sure it was just like, I'm trying to do the work, and you guys have locked down one of the means by which we do the work. Can you please unlock it? We can talk about what the TOS violation looks like as once that happens, because I want to work this out with you.
This was a TOS violation on their YouTube account, right?
Yes.
So what we're witnessing is a thing that a lot of people have warned against with monopolies.
Yeah.
Where Google owns, and we kind of go through this in the outro too, right? They just bought Fitbit. They own YouTube now. They own like all these services and your Gmail and stuff. And the violation was with YouTube, but we shut down everything that you were a part of. And
this has happened. This is not the first time this has happened. The idea, and there's been situations, and I think we may even did a story about it. There's been things with like somebody gets banned in the chat in a, like, there's like a YouTube stream. Somebody gets banned in the chat, and now they can't access any of their Google services.
Yeah.
Including like their email and whatever else.
Or like the Facebook and the Oculus accounts being tied. So if you get banned on Facebook, now you can't get any of your Oculus purchases. Yeah. Like these are things that happen when a company is like, we're going to own everything and we're going to put it under all of one banner. So your one account is everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, but that means if anything happens in any section, regardless of whether you're at fault.
So I'm seeing that in chat we have someone saying, don't mix your business accounts and personal accounts. It's like, okay, well, when the business account is the one that gets incorrectly flagged for a TOS violation, and your business account through which you do email to conduct the business of your business, when all of that stuff is all one thing, like, I don't mix my business accounts and my personal accounts, but if my business account got locked, my Loading Ready Run business account got locked, everything at Loading Ready Run can get locked. Like, that's the thing, is that because I use the info account, and the info account that's the one that you guys email me at. If the info, like, YouTube account got banned for any reason, well, that just means that, yes, you guys lose access to our channels, maybe, or like whatever. I don't know what they end up doing in that regard, what a ban looks like, and that if you can't actually go watch stuff or not. But we can't post new videos. But I also can't send any email. But also that email, because it's part of how I get the notification, I no longer have access to that notification to be able to say, well, I need to take up dispute resolution. And depending on how far they go, they could lock the workspace account that all of Loading Ready Run operates under. So now nobody has access to their email, or their business email, which is how we do business. Yeah, and how do you fix that?
It's sort of a cascading failure.
You know, you can't fix the business thing, and that's what his problem is like, they banned my business from operating here, and now I can't seek relief to get the business back online. Maybe he has his own personal account that's working great, but it's not like YouTube's going to listen to my address is andrewspinks@gmail.com, and please email me. Like, well, we need to talk to the people who run, Andrew Spinks at relogicgames.com or whatever, right? It's like, that's not the same thing. And if you want to get even deeper into this now, because now you're content to have a bit of an argument, why aren't you running your own email account at your own domain name? We have our own domain name, but why do we need to personally run our own email servers? Why do we need to run our own YouTube? We need to run our own YouTube. We need to put all our own stuff up on our own servers and host our own video and do all that and pay for all that bandwidth. It's like,
we would need a lot more people.
Businesses like ours go under when you can't rely upon services that are already set up to allow this to do that for us. And so we have to do these trade-offs. But as part of those trade-offs, I take umbrage with this because Ian actually has this position where he's like, it would be better if we could run everything ourselves. And it's like, you're right, it would be. Mm-hmm. But also, I don't know how we all find the time to do it.
There's also... So there's nothing wrong with the sentiment of own your own stuff. That's definitely true.
Yeah.
But that does not make a monopoly kicks you out of everything less bad.
If just to ease people's minds, if
Yeah.
worst came to worst for whatever reason, I mean, because we have control of, we obviously have control of the Learning Rerun domain, we could change it so that mail wasn't going to Google servers, and so any new mail was coming into servers that
a completely different server if we wanted it to. Yeah.
But
we would lose access to all of our old stuff or like to other things that we've been dealing with, and that can be a problem, right? And it's like big companies don't rely upon using Gmail for a lot of those reasons. And I've worked for some big companies. I work for post-secondary institutions, and they don't use that because they can pay for an IT staff to operate a mail server. They can pay for you could even pay for somebody off that to do to pay for a company whose job it is just to run mail service, to do all that stuff for you. But sometimes it is hard to argue with the free proposition. And it's kind of hard to argue with the integration. It's kind of hard to argue with YouTube as a place where there's mass discoverability. We have 150,000 subscribers. I mean, and it's like, what happens if we all move to putting our stuff somewhere else? Do all those subscribers might not come with us, right?
I mean, YouTube is a whole other ball game. You can't really operate anything. I mean, you fundamentally basically can't operate a video streaming system by yourself. The kind of infrastructure required. Email is a little different. But it's gotten better. But certainly when we started using Gmail as or Google as our main thing, the Google Business whatever, Gmail as a service, as the actual sort of the web service and stuff, is at least it was. I don't know if there's probably alternatives now, but it was an order of magnitude better in terms of spam filtering and the actual online interface and usage is so much better than I remember it used to be that my computer would be I had a spam filter running on my computer. It was relatively good, but then anytime my computer turned off, my email wouldn't be spam filtered because and so I mean it's there's trade-offs with
running a thing yourself. I think is great. Running or paying a company to do to say this company is the one who runs our email servers, but this company is the one who runs our website, or our hosting for our website. This company is the one that's hosting all of our videos now. This company is the one and basically being spreading that stuff around, so that if one thing ever is well, this company's upset with us for whatever reason, then sure. But now I'm paying a bill to this company, I'm paying a bill to this company, I'm paying a bill to this company. It's
that also doesn't negate the idea that Google comes along one day and picks up that company.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually how most of these companies end up with that stuff. YouTube and Google were separate at one point.
Yeah.
They were not the same company.
Yeah.
And Google just bought Fitbit last month. It's just Facebook didn't own Oculus when it first came out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, yeah, I don't know. I really hope that, because I'm assuming even if they get their stuff unlocked so that they can get their stuff out, that they're probably still not going to put Terraria on Google Stadia.
No, I mean, also,
no,
developing for Stadia is maybe not the best idea right now. Anyway, so
yeah, it's definitely up in the air. I hope they didn't lose too much time on it.
Yeah. I mean, theoretically, it's it shouldn't require that much time to port from just a regular PC release to a Stadia release, considering it is fundamentally the same technology.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they're trying to do cool extra stuff, though.
And just, I mean, the idea that it's well, clearly he must have done something wrong, that's why they punished him. It's not when the emails they send out say, this is probably just a false alarm because our bots do that sometimes. And it's really? Really? That's a stance you're going to I guess you can take that. You are the 800-pound gorilla in the room, right? You can take whatever stance you want. And I think that's part of why I think a lot of people get really upset about that idea of I don't particularly know that I want Google bust up where it's like, oh, well, Gmail is now its own company and Google Drive is its own company and the Google apps are its own company. Like, I don't know if that's an answer. Because that kills a lot of interoperability that you want.
Because it's fundamentally, monopolies are super convenient. Having one company in charge of everything is actually really convenient, but you pay for it in other ways, right? That's how it works. You
sure do. Yeah.
Anyway,
I think it's just like as a customer, if you're part of the business side of things, you kind of want to feel like, well, I want to know that there's somebody who's looking out for me, that's providing me service of some sort. And it seems in this case, it's like Relogic Games can't get service.
Yeah. Anyway. Let's talk about stuff we didn't talk about during the show. A few things anyway. Apparently, actually, speaking of we were talking about, the disconnect between developers and or between the people working on a thing and executives or whatever. Apparently, there's a interesting story that was sort of a reveal behind the failed potential remaster of GoldenEye. There was a plan to remaster GoldenEye for the 360, which and in fact, like a bunch of sort of former people who were working at Rare were going to be working on it, and we're super excited. And it was one of those things. Of course, GoldenEye has always been, part of the issue with the remaster of it is it's been with making even making sequels to it, is that Bond and GoldenEye for one specifically, but Bond in general. The licensing for it is this quagmire, right? There's licenses for the James Bond character, the licenses for the movies, and then there's like the developing like Rare, and then there's Nintendo, and Rare is now owned by Microsoft. So and so there's this idea that but they apparently got all the people together and agreed that it was going to be a thing.
Well, my understanding when I read the story was that the dev team that was working at Xbox at this point essentially was like, let's just go ahead and start the process of making this because we don't have to release it and we do have some time. Right. So let's just try to bring this here to begin with and be like, look what we could actually do with this. While they're arguing about if they can figure out the licensing issue.
Well, the thing was apparently that according to the developers, they had the okay.
Okay.
It was like, yes, we're going to do this. We just need to get the paperwork signed. But everyone, we've all met, and all the license holders agree that this is a great thing to do.
Right.
Let's do it.
We just got to get paperwork,
and we just got to get the paperwork signed.
All right.
And then they're like, this is great. Let's start working on it. And then a week goes by, and they're like, hey, where's that paperwork? Oh, we're getting it. Work done. And then a month goes by, and they're like, hey, where's that contract? And they're rather than just sitting around doing nothing, they're working on this because they want to keep their developers busy. Yeah. And they're doing it. And it turns out that at that meeting that all the license holders agreed that this was a great thing to do. One person was missing from that meeting.
Right.
Oh no.
And there's argument about who that person was.
Yeah.
But apparently this one person has enough pull to just kill the entire thing.
Yeah.
Whether that person was a representative of Nintendo, who was like a flagship Nintendo game coming out on another console, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Or whether that was a representative of that there was this idea that GoldenEye was too violent for a Bond game, which seems odd, but apparently that was a thing. So anyway, That's what scuppered the whole thing, was that apparently it was like, great, good to go, and because this is back in the news now, because there's been some like leaks of some like screenshots and stuff of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody did actually get a copy so they could play it.
Some pre-release build stuff, which is, and so they're saying and this was the explanation as to why there is this pre-release build, is that they were working on it and they were assured that it was good to go, but there wasn't, it wasn't on paper, and yeah.
Yep.
But I like the idea where it's just like, that they all agreed to it, but apparently somebody wasn't at that meeting, and when that person heard about it, they said no, and that person was enough to kill the whole thing.
I've been at meetings like that where everyone's there, everyone's feeling like really into an idea, they're pretty good with it. There's like one person, maybe two people missing or whatever, but everybody else has been so on board with the idea that you're like, this will work out. And then like about a week later, when the people who are missing show up, and then you're starting the arguments all over again because they have either you're lucky and they have actual points that are like things nobody thought about, and now you have to really rediscuss it, or it's an objection, and now so you're entering a phase of like, now I have to convince this extra person because we all agreed that everybody needed to agree or something, or we really need that one person to agree, and I never expected that they wouldn't. And so that's really not a surprising idea to me, that it's like, oh yeah, this is all going to work out and everyone's happy. The one person we thought wouldn't mind.
So unfortunately, the info that we have is only from the developers in the trenches who are working on this, and so all they know is that word came down that it stopped. They don't know, they weren't at that meeting, and they don't know who was at that meeting. But yeah.
And anybody else who would have been at that meeting almost for certainly is not talking.
Also, I love the last line of the story, which in reference to something we talked about a few weeks ago. So in this interview with the developer, they're like, so is there any chance, could you imagine there would be a GoldenEye 007 remaster sometime in the future? And it says, I can't see it happening unless Microsoft buys Nintendo.
Yeah.
which
we talked about
we did
that.
That story about Microsoft being laughed out of the Nintendo office when they tried to buy them last time.
And this is kind of funny too, because like this dovetailed with the fact that GoldenEye 007 was a game that got made for the Wii later. It was not a remaster, it was just we're going to make GoldenEye again, but we're going to do all sorts of whatevers with it. And people did not... I have a copy of that, actually, too, because it came with a really cool...
Wait, you got GoldenEye?
Yeah, because it came... I believe it came with a gold classic controller.
I think that might be correct.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I found it on special for like $30 or whatever.
That was
I'm like,
never a game I cared about.
Yeah, I think I got it because it came with a gold classic controller, and it was like... wow, I already have the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword Golden Wii Remote Plus.
Yeah, that I know is a real thing.
I don't know if I have a golden nunchuck or not, because I don't know if they ever made one or not. But I do know it was like, I can get myself a golden classic controller too. That's kind of cool.
The man with the golden nunchuck.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it's like this thing is the game itself. People were like, this isn't GoldenEye. Like, it's what we wanted, of course, and I think what the developers wanted to make, who made the new version. Everyone wanted GoldenEye out of this. They wanted GoldenEye N64 out of this, and that's not what this game turned out to be. And it wasn't interesting in the same way that people want it to be. They're like, we just want this to be updated with good-looking graphics but controls the same way, and that did not happen. And so there's a letdown there. It's like, we want to play like a modern FPS. It's like, well, it's not the same game, is it? And that's too bad. And then you have this come out, and it's like, this is a white whale that's This is going to maintain until everybody my age who played the original GoldenEye is dead.
Well, it's a nostalgia factor for this one, right?
It's the like Final Fantasy VII remake thing, right? Where,
yeah.
And, that sort of got made, except not really.
They're still working on it.
And it's
probably forever now.
I mean, they made it. They made the first bit, and it's good, but different.
Yeah.
I estimate it's basically a new Kingdom Hearts type thing. Not in the sense of like Kingdom Hearts story, but in the sense that that's a franchise that one game finish. Will happen for a very long time.
They'll just draw it out.
Maybe one day you'll see the end.
Yeah. They'll do it's chapter 1's out, so you have chapter 2, and then you have chapter 3, and then you have chapter 4 part 1 and chapter 4 part 2 and chapter 4 part 3.
Or something.
They just
it looked really cool.
Slows down.
It's Xeno's Paradox.
Yeah. 8. It is that time of the year for Valentine's Day, and you know what's the most romantic thing you can do? Killing other people in Black Ops.
Great.
They're having a special mode. There's a special mode. There's a mode in Black Ops, in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, called Kill Confirm mode, where you kill people and take their dog tags, which is a war crime, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah.
Taking people's dog tags is super, super no bueno. Anyway, they're making a super fun thing for Valentine's Day where it's called Kiss Confirmed instead of Kill Confirmed, and you kill people and take little like hearts, candy hearts off their bodies.
They just replaced the dog tags with candy hearts,
that's not a war crime.
Yes. That's okay now.
That's sexual harassment.
No,
they're also adding like some special like gun stuff that are like there's like a gun that's got like hearts, and it's like got what the Cupid's bow. A pink tactical rifle with a Cupid inlay for higher firepower, and more speed. I just like the idea of like Cupid sniper rifle.
Okay, so it just sounds like before the day started, they were like, "Happy Valentine's Day, everybody! I got you all a candy heart necklace, like those candy like necklaces like you get for kids that they." Off their necks, which is really gross. Yeah. And now we shall all wear them while we go off to fight. And everyone else is like, but I would like more of them. So now I'm taking yours. It's weird.
One of the other things that they added, they're adding is there's a legendary sniper rifle alpha with steady aim laser, sound moderator muzzle, and a 7-round speed mag called Hidden Admiration.
What?
Hidden Admiration.
Oh God.
I love you from afar through the scope of my sniper rifle.
Wait, is this mod for Cameron?
There's no... I don't know. Some holidays, maybe your war game shouldn't, dive into, is what I'm saying.
It's just so strange.
You know what? There are lots of... Imagine all the fun things you could do for, I don't know, Arbor Day. You could have trees. Everyone could be trees, or you could have a tree gun.
Yeah, do your weird war simulator for Flag Day or Veterans Day or I don't know, Memorial Day or whatever.
Earth Day.
Yeah.
I want to see you do it for Earth Day.
I'm really just concentrating a lot on there's a lot of American military holidays, aren't there? Okay, how Anzac Day? How about that? There, we'll please the Australians who are definitely asleep right now.
Nah, they stay up for us. I'm sure.
Christ, if they did it, they do it. Imagine if they did it for Remembrance Day. You kill somebody, you walk over and you take the poppy off their body. That's that's good fucking messaging right there.
I like Family Day, but I'm pretty sure that's a pretty localized holiday. I don't think that's a worldwide day.
Family Day is not a real holiday. Family Day is there isn't a holiday in this month, so let's put something in there. Holiday. I think we talked about this a while ago. So there's somebody so this is a while ago. Somebody successfully made a mod for Bloodborne to run on the PS4 Plus, or PS4 Pro.
Oh yeah, Pro. That makes sense.
PS4 Pro at 60 FPS.
Right. Yeah.
Which is a very difficult thing to do. For a variety of there's a bunch of stuff with Bloodborne where they're timing things to the frame rate, and so you could turn the game up to 60 FPS, but then the game would just do everything twice as fast, so you couldn't actually play it.
Their thing with it was they weren't going to release this because they were giving them a chance to make their own or something for sale.
They didn't want to release it right away because when they first were talking about this, the PS5 was about to come out. And one of the things that they talked the new Demon Souls is out for PS5 with 60 FPS and a bunch of stuff. And he's like, I'm not going to release this right away because I'm going to give them first crack at doing a 60 FPS thing because you have to do a bunch of hacks and stuff to make this work. Well, he ran out of patience, I guess. Yeah. Because there's absolutely nothing. There's no announcements and nothing on the horizon for a remaster or re-release of Bloodborne on the PS5. So he is releasing this. So the process to get it installed obviously is not easy because you have to hack your PS. It's you can't normally just install random stuff on your PS4 Pro. I think you have to hack it and put it into developer mode and stuff. But anyway, apparently it works real good, and it's a huge. It's a considerable effort. People are saying is there going to might there be a 60 FPS version, or you be able to do 60 FPS on the PS5 with the original disc. There are some games that have had upgrades,
right?
And he was like, no. I know, but he's just I know from doing what I did that the effort required, it's not, the effort required means that you have to basically redo huge chunks of the game.
Yeah, this isn't a simple changing of some numbers or changing a small section of code.
Yeah, so
kind of thing.
I know from, especially from the comments in this article, that especially now that they've seen Demon Souls, the salivating hordes for a 60 FPS remaster of Bloodborne are very, very strong. So,
and I mean, frankly, if you've having that out there and having people be like, we want this, From Software could definitely be encouraged to be like, hey, so we're gonna remake Bloodborne. We're gonna invest the money to do that and resell it to you. Rather than be like, we're gonna make a mod for it. They might be like, we're just literally gonna make this game again and resell it to you.
Chances are good they would just they would do a remake and resell it.
Yeah, and people will get mad because they'll be like, I already own the disc for PS4, and it's like, yes, but we need to pay our developers.
Happy. But they also might not want to go through that effort because they might be working on other projects. This may never have been a thing that they considered they would want to be doing it right now.
Yeah.
I feel like more so than, I don't know if this is right, but more so than other game companies, I feel like From Software has a very strong, we don't care what you think attitude. We're just going to make the games that we want to make. We don't really care what other people think. And, the games that they make, it's if people like them, then they like them, and if people don't like them, they don't care.
I always kind of felt that there was this through line, I guess, where they're like, we're not interested in going back. We're not interested in we're making the thing that we're making, and we're going to keep making the thing that we're making, and we're not ever go back. And then Demon Souls Remaster comes out for PS5, and it's then that could just be a case of we feel that Demon Souls really didn't get a fair shake because not everyone had a chance to play it, so we made a remaster of it. But
we have certain projects where we're not really interested in doing that again. But I'm sure we also have other projects where we would be like, that'd be fun to do again.
Yeah. Like,
So I agree that there are companies I've seen where it's like they never seem interested in going back or rebringing back an old thing, but occasionally they do because
yeah.
you
Sometimes
do.
you think about the fact like, boy, it actually would be fun to reshoot a couple of sketches that we would have done a long time ago. Because then you can like, now we can film them in 1080p, and now we can improve a bunch of other things. The lighting is better, and like, yeah, holy crap,
See,
that's a lot
I don't
of
want
work.
to give
It's so much
any
work.
specific examples because I know what happens when we do that.
I know.
The Demon Souls remake is actually made by a different company, too.
There's also that. A lot of companies that don't want to go back, typically when a remaster hits, it's another company that does that work.
In fact, it made by a company called
Journey's the same way, I think.
Yeah, made by a company called ChillPoint. That this is what they do. They make remasters.
Nice.
I bet they've got a lot of experience with, please give us your assets. Like, honestly.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
Honestly, I would imagine that, like, as a remake studio, like, the ability to know who to talk to and know what steps to go through to get those assets is actually probably, like, one of the things that has a lot of value as a company. Like, that's why you're a remake studio. Like,
yeah.
You've learned those techniques, whereas somebody else just coming in might not be able to do that. Like, that actually has a lot of that I bet that knowledge is just as useful and just as precise as, how to program in whatever programming language it is.
Yeah, like you've got like it got mentioned in chat, but it's that Nintendo didn't make Ocarina of Time 3D and Majora's Mask 3D. They hired Grezzo to do it,
and Grezzo does very good does very good work.
Yeah, and I mentioned their name because I also want to say that Grezzo made one of my favorite games for 3DS, which is Ever Oasis. Yes. And when you play it, you see that it's like these guys have chops. They definitely know how to make a good game.
To the Switch, and I would like to see that happen.
It's
that
such a good game, but it's and that sense of like making a remake of something like Beamdog making remakes and enhanced editions of BioWare's Baldur's Gate games and the other things they were involved with, like those Infinity Engine era stuff. It's like, yeah, that's a very specific kind of skill set to walk in, look at a whole bunch of old stuff that might be very embarrassingly written code or hastily written code or whatever, and be
lucky.
Like, we'll do what we can to clean this up. We'll do what we can to port this to a modern platform. It's a lot of work to have to play archaeologists on code, but that might be the way forward for a lot of the older From Software stuff. Is they would have to say there's money in it for us, there's money in it for another company to port our stuff forward.
Mm-hmm. That just might not be one of them because of difficulty.
Yeah.
E3 2021 will be an online-only event. Surprise, surprise.
Good Christ.
E3 2020 was just canceled straight up. But yes. E3 2021 is going to be an online-only event. The one aspect, the aspect of that I've seen a lot of in this article talk about, and also a lot of things being like, when you move it to being an online-only event, like, that's taken away the one tiny thing that E3 kind of had. Like, now you're competing against... Now E3 is just, like, has nothing special to offer. Like,
it's like sweeps.
Every big game company already does their own online... big, like reveals. They don't need E3. E3 had the thing of, like, bringing together the journalists and game developers and having the booth set up and you can do all this stuff. But if you're doing it, obviously you can't do that in person. Now you're doing it just online. E3's got, like, no reason to exist other than that they want to continue to exist.
E3 and other trade shows like GDC, I don't know if that's a trade show, but convention stuff where there's big booths and there's big reveals. Yeah, okay, there's the aspect of journalists who show up and, like, get to maybe get some interviews, but the big thing that has nothing to do with the consumer is a whole bunch of people who work in the industry getting to meet each other in a space where they wouldn't before. Like Nintendo doesn't do E3 in the sense, or hasn't done E3 in a long time in the sense of they don't do the big stage presentation. They've been doing their online presentation, but they still go to E3. They still have a big booth.
Right.
They do a 3-day stream with the Treehouse thing, but they still have people who go and talk to other people and have meetings and do that sort of thing. And that's really the big thing you're losing by doing your online only events with these trade shows. And yeah, every single one of them learned how to do an online event over the past year. So will they participate in E3 or not? Who really knows? I really think it's definitely probably saved them a lot of PR money that they've put in other places than to spend the amount of money they probably had to do at an E3 booth. But do you remember what the proposed leak was for E3 in 2020 that never happened? It was bringing in YouTubers and influencers and having those pods that people stand in lines for, and the lines of people being advertised to separately. Who knew if they were going to go forward with it?
Right.
But that was a leaked idea of a plan of like, this is what E3 2020 could be. I'm glad that never happened.
Yeah.
All right. A couple other things here. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, because the thing I wanted to mention too is that E3. If anybody remembers the term sweeps in terms of television, is that May sweeps was always a thing, and the reason for that was like this is a period of time in which advertisers were going to be coming out in full force to advertise on stuff, and it was kind of this thing that had grown over time in the television industry. Mm-hmm. Is this idea that in this certain block of time is when new advertising, expensive advertising, was going to be paid and put into for TV shows, and so TV shows would always do special episodes, amazing things that are happening, guest stars, whatever, to show up and be a part of like sitcoms or all that kind of stuff. To basically be like, we want to attract people, we want to get numbers to boost up, and that means advertisers will dump a bunch of money into our show because we have so many people watching us and that kind of thing. And I think it had to do with whether or not your show would have been more popular enough or whatever to continue into next season anyway. That isn't a thing anymore, right? Because TV has changed a lot in a lot of different ways, and Netflix doesn't do a sweeps, right?
Everybody's on different schedule. It's nothing. Things aren't in the same kind of moving together anymore. Everybody's on different schedules, and shows just come out whenever they're ready, right?
Yeah. E3 is the one time of year where you can expect a whole bunch of gaming news, and so for that idea of we want the consumers to have that might make the online event happen. Last year there was a Summer Fest. I can't remember his name of the person who was like gathering together all the dates of like, here's the stuff over summer, and I think he's planning to do that again this year. Yeah, because it's like there's no way to know if E3 this year, even as an online only event, will get everyone to put all their stuff in a time slot.
Yeah, and it's like E3 became this thing, much like other gaming conventions around the world. E3 became this thing that was like, it's all understood, and everyone has an opportunity to come here and to present their stuff, but then it became this thing that you can't miss. Because it's like, if you're a company, you have to have something at E3, you have to be presenting something, you have to have something to show journalists, because this is the time that they're all in one building, so why don't I also put my company in there as well? And then big companies start pulling out of that.
Yeah, I mean, that was even on the decline before the pandemic.
Yeah,
and stuff.
Companies were already starting to kind of pull out right before the pandemic, and then they started to really pull out at the pandemic, which is why I'm more interested to see what happens once we have the vaccine and once we can get back to doing conventions and things again, because I want to see what shape E3 attempts to try. This being an online event this year makes sense, because really they shouldn't do an in-person event, but also last year them just canceling it and being like, we have like so little time to get everything prepared, cancel this, work on next year, makes more sense.
Yeah.
But I'm more interested in 2022 at this point in terms of like what happens to it. I mean, want a lot of gaming news.
I feel like the concept of conventions is going to take a while for people to get back into again.
and I think I think it'll be interesting to see how that for a professional trade show as opposed to something like PAX, which is a public trade show. The sense of a journalist trade show, professional trade show, how the reliance upon that for decades was starting to wane anyway, and then get hit as hard as they are, and it's like, are we at a point now where it is so unnecessary that stuff like that doesn't have to exist anymore? But then what does that do to, like, because you like E3 because it's very much it's a time to look forward
Christmas,
to. Yeah,
right? It's the summer Christmas gamers. You're gonna get to see all the splashy ads. You're gonna get to be hyped about a thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
What's weird is there's a good chance that we end up with this like sort of phantom E3. Like E3 itself could be gone, but the time that E3 happened at will still be the time where everybody announces things.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is,
and I think that's very likely.
Which is weird. You know, it's like when there could be there's like a traffic jam that's that the thing that caused the traffic jam is gone, but the cars are still slowing down because the cars in front of them.
I mean, we were
sped up
already
yet.
kind of getting some of that, like, because I know the week before E3, a lot of people were trying to start putting out announcements of things, and I saw somebody in the chat ask, why bother with E3 when you have PAX? Isn't the rule for PAX that you're not supposed to make new game announcements?
It is.
It's just to show off games that already exist.
Yeah.
And E3 is about making new announcements.
I don't know if that's
updates.
like a rule.
It's kind of been an assumed guideline, is that you're not allowed to come forward and be like, we have brand new stuff to show you, and to basically make lineups incredibly long. It's like, no, we want to show you things that exist. It's kind of always
Like historically, it was like a consumer show, and E3 was more of a trade show. But obviously, those lines have blurred a lot.
Yeah. PAX might be the first place you get to play something that was announced like a week prior. They do that sometimes, but anyway.
Yeah. There's an amazing fan mod for Super Smash Brothers that adds the Among Us dudes to it. Just making a fan mod of Super Smash Brothers in itself is pretty crazy. But so not only this isn't just a reskin; they have a whole new moveset. Their final smash is like causes a meeting, like emergent. You do your final smash, it goes emergency meeting, and 3 or 4 versions of the character plus any other people who are fighting all appear in the middle of the map and have a meeting. Your character gets told that gets thrown out the airlock, and then falls down to Earth as a comet and smashes the ground and does damage to everybody. That's the like big final smash thing that happens. It's amazing. And you can you can like drop down into one of his moves is that you can drop down like into a vent and move around and pop back up. Anyway, I don't know why they spent so much effort to do it for Super Smash, but like this is Super Smash Brothers, not Smash Brothers Ultimate. But yay!
I don't know.
It's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still pretty good.
Tron is coming to Fortnite probably. I hope you get to play as weird, creepy Jeff Bridges. That would be the skin that I would be looking for.
Which there will end up being mods for that to turn him into the Lebowski.
Right.
Yeah.
I assume when they say that like Tron, it's like one, you'll get some skins, and then there'll be like a light cycle duel thing that you can do, because apparently there's a lot of Fortnite that isn't actually playing Fortnite.
Yeah. I think it's that's a Disney property. Other Disney properties have already shown up.
Yeah,
because Disney owns a lot of stuff too.
It wouldn't be surprising to get more.
Yeah.
in Fortnite.
It's neat though. I do like a good Tron.
Boop, ba-doop, boop, boop. Hey, we played Wingspan on the stream a few times now.
Yeah.
Somebody has released for Tabletop Simulator, basically a complete Wingspan conversion that replaces all the birds with Pokemon.
And not just flying Pokemon, I'm guessing.
No, all the Pokemon.
Every Pokemon, yeah.
But you still have like the
There
different
are a
like
few
you have like the different biomes, and you have the food you play. It's a complete conversion. And apparently they've it's sort of gotten at least not disapproval from the makers of Wingspan. I don't know what that actually entails in terms of how much they support it, but they're at least not killing it.
I don't think they can like fully support it as
They've already taken it down though.
Oh, have they?
So
out of an abundance of caution.
it was called Pokemon
honestly,
Nursery. It was a part of the whole thing.
Apparently,
but,
they were a little more upset about it than originally thought.
Yeah, yesterday they took it down. So
I mean, the thing says out of an abundance of caution. I don't think they were necessarily upset by the mod so much as that's the thing that could maybe cause them problems.
yeah.
But having another franchise like that,
But that could be, a thing to be like, hey, we've made a new style of Pokemon game, and it's based on this game that this other person made, and I've done a lot of work to do whatever, and it's like, maybe that's a thing you shop to the Pokemon company to be like,
yeah,
that's the thing. That's the kind of thing that if you allow, and it turns out you were in the middle of like negotiating a thing that could sour.
Absolutely.
Right? Like,
for some reason it didn't occur to me that of course. It's not that Wingspan came down on them; it's that Pokemon came down on them.
Yeah,
well, it could come
have,
down.
yeah.
Right. I don't think they even really knew about it until like recently, and yeah.
And finally, so they're speaking of ports and remakes and patches and stuff. There is a Switch port of the game Pillars of Eternity. That isn't good,
and maybe you should not buy.
And that's not opinion on my part. That is apparently a fact. It is a poor port, in fact, and it's what's most frustrating about it is Divinity: Original Sin 2, which is a similar game, runs great. But Pillars of Eternity on Switch runs very poorly. It's got it's just like super has a lot of frame rate issues. It has a bunch of glitches and all this stuff. The company that is doing the port, the publisher, Versus Evil, released an update today that or a couple days ago that fixed a couple things and also was officially the last update that they were going to do to it. Acknowledging that it still isn't good.
Yeah. The position they take too is that like this is the option, we've exhausted the options left to us from the PC original in regards to the limitation of the hardware we are working with. And it's just like
little
sure.
Throwing a little shade on the Switch there.
Yeah.
And how broken is it? Like, is this just like there's some annoying things?
Well, the Ranger's pet doesn't appear.
But is that a game-breaking thing?
Well, if you have normally when a ranger has a pet in an RPG, it's because the pet is doing something. It's not just following them around, right? So it's like now you can't see it, or it's just not there at all, even though you need to call it. So it kind of breaks the class of the ranger.
I guess my thing is like I know they're throwing shade at like the Switch for having whatever. It's just if you were having this many problems with your port, why did you follow through with it? Like why did you continue? Why did you put it out with as many bugs as you did?
Yeah, it's. I mean, because sometimes it's like.
And I mean, there are reasons why to do it. I'm not trying to be like, well, it's their fault. They shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But my question is, if you know this is a thing you're porting to, why continue doing that?
Yeah, I mean, the contract that they would have signed would be like we're relying upon you to actually deliver something. And if you've gone through the whole process of getting to the point of signing a contract, it's like, yeah, we can make this work. It's like, great, well, let's sign a contract. Okay, we'll deliver something. It ain't great. That's okay. We'll keep making updates. And then they get to a point and they're like, we can't do anything else. But hey, Nintendo certified it to run on the Switch, so it was clearly done enough to run on the Switch.
Yeah, no, who knows? Whatever state the code was in, they're like, the amount of work it's going to require to actually fix this, it's not worth it to us to do.
Yeah, like I can definitely see it being a thing of even if they could do more patching, that's time, money, and that might not be feasible for them to continue,
It's
whether you
also
agree with it or not.
This article is worthwhile to note, the game is still currently full price on the eShop, and but 75% off on Steam. So yeah, this is definitely Pillars of Eternity. Supposed to be a very good game. You should probably get it on PC.
Yeah, it's probably more done there, or they've done what they can to actually make it work.
Yeah, it's quite a good game on PC, from what I understand. That's why people were so upset about this, because they were excited about it on Switch, and then they got what they got.
It's surprising too, because it's like one of these, like, there are people in the comments, because it's always people in the comments, but one of the things is like, well, why would you port a game that wouldn't run on the hardware? And it's like, because when you start the conversation to port a game, you don't know if it's going to run on the hardware a certain way or not, right?
Yeah, I'm mostly looking to see if people actually talk about the different bugs.
I mean,
but I'm mostly just seeing a lot of baseless accusations.
Yeah.
A lot of anger, really.
Sure. I mean, I'd be mad too if I paid for a game and it didn't run properly, and they're not letting me have refunds because I've had it for X number of months or whatever. And it's like, this wasn't run as a scam, clearly. This isn't, you don't just be like, I'm going to port a game and I'm going to make everyone pay for it. I'm going to put in thousands of hours to make it and pay a lot of developers and make people pay for the game. And then I'm going to just walk away from it. There are simpler scams, my dude.
And in keeping with our theme for this episode, apparently, it might be that it's like, yes, this all seems perfectly fine. This will be great. I can see how we can do this perfectly. And then they get what they get from the developer, and they're like, oh, this is not going to work. That's how like, that's how you did this? Oh, no.
Yeah, we can't re-implement. We can't do this. We can't do that. Or it's like,
that's not going to run on a Switch.
I mean, this is partially why even games that are made in-house, when you hear that, because, I mean, it's hard to not use Cyberpunk as an example. The idea that it's like, oh, well, don't worry. Sure, it runs like butts now in review copy, but it'll run great later. And it's like,
we'll optimize.
I think I'll just wait until you're actually running great later.
That's what I did with Bloodstained for the Switch. Is they say there's like I backed that when it was coming out on the Wii U, and I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and when it finally came out, I was like, yes, and it went on my shelf, and I'm like, I will wait until I hear about the Switch patch that fixes a bunch of stuff. And when they released it, because they were like, we know it's not running great in a couple points, so there'll be a patch in about a month, and then they came out with a patch.
Kickstarter's a bit different because you're kind of there for the I want to support the developers in making this thing, as opposed to am I researching the product I'm buying?
And I'm not blaming them for problems with the problem of like having to wait for like some stuff to get fixed, but there is that sense, like you say, it's like, I think I would rather wait until I hear that the game is ready before I start playing it.
Yeah.
I have that position a lot of times too,
Anyway.
It's too bad.
All right, let's welcome the subscribers. Oh, actually, let's first talk about Friday Night Paper Fight. It's happening tonight. It's going to be on Arena, and it's going to be something we call Valentine's Gift Draft.
Nice.
Where the players are going to be drafting decks that they then bequeath to their friends.
That's
so
nice.
they're drafting a deck that they don't actually play. So that should be interesting.
You get to show how much you love the other person by screwing them over.
I mean, that's the point of that kind of format.
I don't think they're not supposed to be backdrafting.
No, it's supposed to be love, right?
But we'll see, because they're going to be playing against each other too. So it's entirely possible the players will be playing against the deck that they drafted.
See, if everybody goes in thinking they need to draft a really bad deck for everyone else, that means everybody runs with a really bad deck.
Absolutely,
and that's funny.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday, James is going to be continuing to escape from Tarkov with
one day, James, you'll make it
with his the expert assistance of El Funko.
Yay, Funko!
And then on Sunday, Heather and Ian are going to continue to play the taiko drums.
Mm-hmm. We're going to be at this for a while because we're still only in the first game and not in the second game.
Oh. There's a second game.
Yeah, it's a pack. So we're in the like time travel adventure pack, and I think the other one is countries.
Yeah, there's 2 different games in this pack, so
Yeah, we're gonna be at it for a while.
thank Christ.
And then on Monday, it is episode 1 of Alien First Law. Last week we had the episode 0 character creation and stuff, and now we get to actually see what these characters do in whatever horrible situation Cam is going to put them into. I feel like it will not go well for them.
I hope not.
But luckily, they're all android or synthetic artificial peoples, and so they're fairly sturdy. Can put up with a fair amount of damage.
I don't know. You can have some bad manufacturing.
All right, let's welcome subscribers. Starting with Rustin Skirk for 34 months. Thank you very much.
Manic Pixie Dreamer Lurk. Manic Pixie Dream Lurker. 61 months. Welcome back.
And welcome back to Railroad Tycoon 2 for 50 months. I'm going to keep saying it that way.
Oh yeah, Doodles the Great brings a good point that on I forgot on Friday or on Monday after Best Friends will be more Escape from Tarkov for the
spoilers. He clearly can't escape this weekend if he has to still escape on Monday.
For those late night streams to work better with Funko's Australian time zones. Kate Small Moon for 17 months.
100 Abraham Lincolns for 76 months. Welcome back.
It's like $500. Trajas has been here 18 months. Welcome back. 100
Grelaman for 82 months.
A lot of months.
Mr. Lefisto for 29 months.
I want a Snivy.
You want Snivy?
Yeah, I'll take the Snivy.
It's your turn.
Graphics Content has been here for 15 months. Welcome back.
Ghost User 1984 for 2 years.
Augian the Silent for 23 months. Welcome back.
Fei Lee has been here for 82 months. Welcome back, Fei Lee.
Morden Solus Sings for 32 months.
Vanderbear 91 for 36 months.
You just can't get comfortable. Couldn't Pick a Username has been here 51 months. Welcome back.
Jean-Jacques EB for 26 months.
Yeah, I know. Snivy's like real long.
Yeah.
Pygmy Worm for 46 months. Welcome back.
Lizard Man 175 for 64 months. First name, last name, occupation.
Maybe Tipig can help you round out.
Maybe that.
That was the third part of the set.
Lizard Man, Lizard Man, Lizard Man.
Mixfire for 13 months.
These were the 3 starters from that year. So
yeah, I think it's Black and White. Is the
why not?
I always forget what generation anything's from. Massholix Gaming is a new subscriber. Hell, welcome to the channel.
My wife!
Hey!
Got that gift from an anonymous gifter. Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you for 1,040 bits from Earthen One, Gap Filler, Banriel, and Pharaoh Bender 27. Thank you all so very, very much. Be back with Friday Night Paper Fight Arena Valentine's drafty thing in an hour. Because we went really long on this episode of ChillPoint. So much graphic design.
Is it Lunar New Year today?
Yeah.
Oh, Gongi Fachoy.
Yay. And how we celebrate Lunar New Year here in the games industry is Steam sales. Woo!
Everything with an ox in it is half price.
I mean,
so Oxenfree.
There's a massive Steam sale going on right now.
Oxenfree is for free. It is oxen and they are free.
Please don't believe anything Beach says.
Don't believe anything I say. Goodbye.
That's just good advice in general.
Wait till they find out my hair is a wig.